Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show with your hosts, Rusty Buckets and Uncle Buck. Now, let's get to the show.
What is up, everybody? No, there was not a glitch in the Matrix that we know of, but the Two Bucks went live a little early today because Uncle Buck's got some work stuff he's got to attend to right after this, so we hit the ground running. Welcome to your Wednesday edition of the Two Buck Sports Show. I am your co-host, Rusty Buckets, checking in live from a chilly East Memphis, Tennessee, with my guy, Drew Gann, a.k.a. Power Ranger, a.k.a. Uncle Buck. What's happening, man?
What's going on, everybody? I have work to tend to today, so we are going to maybe have a little briefer. We're going to have to try to be a little bit more concise today, as we're going to get out of here a couple minutes before the top of the hour. So we started giving you a little bit. And if everybody was ever wondering, I don't typically wear hoodies to work. This is what I look like. I do everybody the favor of changing clothes right before we get on the show every time. And so today I didn't. And so, because it's cold, I'm wearing lots of layers, and I didn't want to put it back on.
I don't blame you. I mean, I'm dressed to impress because I'm going to call on a couple of doctors. I'm going to call on a couple of
you need to try a little harder.
As I can, right? If I got my sweater, my collared shirt, it looks decent. But go call on some doctors this afternoon.
Lipstick on a pig, as my dad would say.
Basically, buddy. Basically. That's all this truly is. But
my dad, we had a boat when I was a kid. I said we were going to be concise, and here I am talking about my dad's boat. But he used to always say about this boat when he would go wash it, he's like, this is just like polishing a turd. And that's Rusty every time he gets dressed in the morning.
Wildly accurate. Hurtful, but wildly accurate.
I kid.
That might be the real or counterfeit segment of the day. Does Rusty really look like
is Rusty a turd or a pig?
Yeah. But I got an interesting real or counterfeit for us because we do still have to start with buffoonery, even though we are going to be a bit more brief.
That's right. This is the Two Buck Sports Show on Bluff City Media. It's Wednesday, which means we've got our real or counterfeit. And you brought up buffoonery, and we were paid inside the network here. We were paid massive compliments the other day, me in particular. But they compared me and you to a legendary Memphis sports talk show that had two guys in it. I was not familiar with this because I'm not an insider, but they put a snippet in there, and they were just like, sports is not that serious, have fun and everything. And I was like, this is probably the best comparison that you could have. We just non-serious, and it equals buffoonery, which we mention at least 3 times on every single show that we do.
Usually within the first 5 minutes.
Yes.
But yes, like shout out. That really hit home and meant a lot to me as well. I do enjoy doing the show with you, but it's translating, right? It's hitting home with what we're trying to do. We talk about sports. We take it serious enough to we argue that our mamas think we're mad at each other. But at the end of the day, we're just best friends hanging out, having a good time. This started as a way for us to keep in touch when I was living 12 hours away. And now it's turned into what y'all see and for whatever reason choose to spend your lunch break with. So again, thank y'all very much. A lot of gratitude for that for sure.
Absolutely.
But today on the real versus counterfeit, I give Drew a take and I ask him if he thinks it's real or if it's counterfeit. And today is quite on point for me today. Drew, I have a question about sleep.
Oh, okay.
And that question is 7 hours of sleep is not the same as 7 hours of sleep. Walk with me here. So,
please, you're going to have to take us there.
Last night, I had the post-game bounce with Evan. We had a great time. If you hadn't watched it, go check it out. The comments were wild last night. The villagers were in an uproar about certain players and certain things from the game and certain things that we said. But he and I had a good time. We ended up chopping it up till after 11 or so last night. Hence why if you saw the announcement for the show earlier, it said December the 2nd instead of December the 3rd like it was supposed to. But I got into bed around like 11:30. I was asleep probably about 11:30, and I slept till 6:30. That is not the same for me as if I'd gone to bed at, say, even like 10 and slept till 5 a.m. It depends on your proclivity. Are you a night owl? Are you an early riser? Me, I'm not a night owl. Like, me, Drew. You've made fun of me for years for going to bed by like 9 o'clock. Like my optimum sleep, if I can sleep from 9 to 5 every night, 9 p to 5 a, I'd be tickled to death.
Sing it, Dolly.
Yeah, exactly.
9 to 5.
I'm sleeping 9 to 5. That's exactly right. But like 7 hours of sleep is not the same as 7 hours of sleep depending on what time you get to sleep and what time you wake up.
Listen, consistent sleep is all that I need. Listen, I've it's well documented my struggles with work sometimes directly collide with sleep schedules. For instance, early Monday morning, I was out the door at 3:00, and with all the meth heads and drunkards that were just getting home, and I was headed to work. And I get that. So, and I also live in a home with 4 kids, 2 kids that are 3 years old, and 2 of my kids are 3 and 1, and my wife is in the terminal stages of pregnancy, in which she is up out of the bed at least 3 times a night. So my enemy is just consistent sleep. If I can just start my sleep and sleep till my alarm clock, that is a smashing success. I don't care what hours it is.
Yeah, I like 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. for me is way different than even if I got to sleep from midnight till 8 a.m. It's still 8 hours of sleep, but because I'm used to an earlier bedtime, I'm going to be wrecked if I sleep that. And furthermore, I cannot remember the last time I slept till 8 a.m. I'm like Jared. Like, the problem with mine is if I go to sleep at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 11 p.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., I am going to wake up at 6 o'clock. I just cannot help it. Even on the weekends, I'll wake up at 6 and I'll fall back asleep and I'll wake up at 6:05 and then 6:11. And then by 6:20, I'm angry and I just get out of bed. And so, like, for me, I need to go to bed a bit earlier because I know I'm going to wake up. But just, again, the earlier my sleep can start is going to be better for me because I'm going to wake up early.
When your whole, I wish I was an early riser like you. Like, I wish it so bad that I would almost be okay being miserable, not being able to go back to sleep past 5, because that would be the most productive hours that I would have in the day, given like my kid situation and all that.
Sure.
I wish I was an early riser, but I'm not. I've never been. I've always been one to struggle to get out of the bed in the morning. I will say, with the kid situation, it has been extremely nice over the break last week. Like, Thursday and Friday when I was off and the kids were off, we shut off all alarm clocks. And the best thing that happened the whole weekend, and I didn't even bring it up in my Best and Beef because I didn't even think about it till now, but we turned off the alarm clocks and everybody in the house slept till 8 o'clock. That's nice. Was beautiful.
I don't know how Maggie does it. She'll sleep till 9:30, 10 o'clock some days, just like on her off days.
I can't do that
weekends.
Anymore.
Like she's going to get her 8 hours of sleep. And meanwhile, I've been up for 2-3 hours and I've cleaned, I've made coffee, I've taken care of the dogs, I've exercised some more. Like, I've done a lot of things before she wakes up. But it's funny how everybody's sleep patterns are a bit different. But I stand by my point that 7 hours of sleep is not the same as 7 hours of sleep.
No, I get it. I get it. That's not my case. As long as it's consistent sleep, I don't care.
Yeah, there you go. Well, speaking of consistent, we got a consistent effort from the Memphis Grizzlies last night, depending on your perspective, in a loss to San Antonio, which we need to talk about now.
That's right. It's the Wednesday edition of the $2 Sports Show here on Bluff City Media. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, even girls, if you're in there. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching anywhere other than YouTube, I would like to cordially invite you to come over to youtube.com, get in the chat, but not before hitting the thumbs up button. And if you're already in the chat, please hit the thumbs up button. It helps us a lot. And we're going to talk about the Memphis Grizzlies, who consistently lose to the San Antonio Spurs because they consistently give up 30-point games to Harrison Barnes.
Yeah. Death by Harrison Barnes was not on my bingo card for the year of our Lord 2025, but it's happened twice now. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, strike 3, according to Michael Scott. And Harrison Barnes got strike 3 last night.
Fool me once, strike 1. Fool me twice, strike 3.
There it is. By giving a 30-burger last night to the Memphis Grizzlies en route to 31 points. I believe I saw that was a career high or close to it. Maybe it tied it. 7 of 12 from 3 last night. Just an incredible game from Harrison Barnes. In a game where we didn't get an incredible game really from anybody. Jalen Wells was really good. 20 points on 6 of 9 from the field last night. Zach Edey, 19 on 8 of 12 with 15 rebounds. He continues to be a double-double machine.
I told you to hit the over.
Yeah. And he, was given work to Luke Cornett, and Jared brings up a good point here. We've got a consistent robot of a coach because there was a stretch in the second quarter, Drew, where there was like 3 straight possessions where we came down, threw it to 14. He hit that turnaround floater for 6 straight points. And then I'll give you 100. Now I'll give you 2 guesses, and the first one doesn't count. What happened to Zach Edey after he made 3 straight buckets?
He got left in the game and scored 3 more buckets in the same fashion.
Nope, I guess
you told me one of them doesn't count.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
And so he got pulled immediately for Jock Landale, and it's beginning to be was past like nonsensical, Christmas. But it's beginning to be buffoonery on levels of a coach whose last name rhymes with Stinkins.
Oh, listen, it's a hard. I'll listen to that, and I agree with that. They need to play more minutes as a whole. I did not, full disclosure, did not watch a lot of this game last night because it was the local Christmas parade / my daughter's birthday. And
nice.
So I had to do those duties and stand out in the 25-degree cold for a Christmas parade because that's what Chloe wanted to do. So I'm going to default to you on this, so please don't lead the people astray and make me have to deal with it, okay?
Yeah,
so,
I got you.
I don't, in theory, again, I'm rarely ever, probably never going to get on here and complain about second quarter rotations and getting your minutes of rest in the second quarter. Like, to me, there's like at least 24 minutes left in the game, and you're not typically going to lose the game in the second quarter. I would like to say that you need to play more. Edey needs to play more minutes. And if that means you probably need to play more minutes in the second quarter as to get to a higher total of minutes, what happened in the fourth quarter? Because I was keeping up with score. We were winning. Then we were losing, and we didn't really have a shot at the end because it got to be 6 or 7, 8 in the low minutes in the short rows there in the fourth quarter. So did the same thing happen again?
Yes. So Zach Edey, and I'll give credit where credit's due. Zach Edey had a rough second quarter. He had 3 fouls at halftime. Jaron had 4. Yeah. They both barely played in the third quarter, which was back and forth, and I believe we actually won. We outscored them 39-34 in the second quarter. Our bench continued in the third quarter. Continued to play well in the third quarter. But the problem happened, I've got the time. So at the 7:16 mark of the fourth quarter, we're up 101-108. And we do our hockey-style line change where we pull out everybody, but I believe Cam Spencer. Jock Landale comes in. Santi comes in. Jitty comes in. I think KCP came back in at that point, and we sat down Edey, Jaron, Jalen, and Said, right? We're up 108-101. San Antonio then goes on a 9-0 run to take the lead 110-108. We take it back 113-110 on a Vince Williams 3. We tie it and then take the lead. And after that, whatever momentum we had was gone because the Spurs put on a clinic once again. Keldon Johnson hit a corner 3 to put them ahead for good with 3:17 left in the game, and De'Aaron Fox iced it with some threes and free throws down the stretch. So, again, the tomfoolery, like, I get the substitutions in first and second quarters don't matter. I'll give you that to a degree, but when you're digging holes consistently because your guys can't get in a rhythm when you're getting pulled out, you're digging holes you can't dig out of against good teams. And against San Antonio, we were toe for toe with them. We were down 4 at halftime. We were competitive. But in the fourth quarter, when you make that same silly mistake with under 7 minutes to go and you take out everybody who has any kind of a pulse on offense and they go on an immediate 9-0 run and lose whatever momentum you had, that's tough to rationalize for me in a system that I'm already iffy on.
We've just had some college football news that's breaking. That's interesting. We need to get to in a minute.
Let's hurry up and talk about Grizzlies because we got a lot of college football to get to.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this. I just looked it up on the Real app. You said, what minute did you say that hockey line substitution came out?
It was right after. It was about the 7-minute 16 mark of the fourth quarter. Right after that, Cam Spencer 3.
Starting at the 6:58 to go in the fourth quarter, San Antonio went on a 21-7 run that ended with 1 minute to go in the fourth when the game was over.
How about that?
So, I guess you can bang the gavel.
How about that?
You're
nailing your own coffin, and it's frustrating. It's just
And
frustrating.
the thing with the fourth quarter subs, again, I don't pay as much of attention to second quarter subs as long as you're. If Zach Edey were to get 34 minutes in last night's game and he went out in the second quarter after scoring 3 straight baskets, I'm not going to complain about him leaving the game. He's still only playing last night with some foul trouble. He played 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. So, again, when you pull him out in the fourth quarter, though, that goes into messing up juju. Mm-hmm. And when you're on the road, you let the home team get hot, and when you let the home team get hot between the 7-minute mark and the 1-minute mark of the fourth quarter, you're going to lose.
And guess what? Yeah. It's not like he doesn't know how to do it. Just in the past week alone, he has allowed Edey and Jaren to play the final 8 minutes of the fourth quarter of the Kings game. Do you know what happened in that Kings game? We won. Played the final 8 minutes of the Clips game. You know what happened? We won.
And not only won, but we were on the road and we came back and
we're down. And I'll cave a little here, give a little ground to it's the back end of a road trip. Guys are gassed. We're coming home this Friday. We got 2 days off. I can hear some of that, but at the same time, you're a professional athlete. This is your job. Go compete for 48 minutes. And as a coach, let your best players compete when it is crunch time in a tight game. Like that's the thing I can't get behind.
Yeah.
So, one last bit of NBA news before we get to college football because things are kind of rolling. And Kenny, sorry, but we're probably not going to do our commercial today. Chris Paul today was dismissed essentially from the Clippers. Shams Charania tweets out that there was some disagreement over his leadership style. He was very vocal in holding management, coaches, and players accountable, which the team felt became disruptive. Specifically, Ty Lue was not on speaking terms with Paul for several weeks. And so couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I have voiced my opinion about Chris Paul on this show and others many, many times. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Nice to see him thrown out on his tail in the cold.
And it's just a complete 180 to what you expect out of Chris Paul. This is shocking news to me. This is supposed to be a homecoming. He announced a couple weeks ago this would be his last year in the NBA. And to go so left on this is pretty stunning to me. And I know this team is extremely old, even before Chris Paul was added. You know, you still have Kawhi and Bradley Beal and James Harden. It's still a veteran-laden team. So I'm not really sure who Chris Paul's yelling at or who he's leading astray. Yeah. But I very softly, more or less stumped, or at least mentioned the idea that if Chris Paul can change SGA's life in 1 year at OKC, then what could he do on a retirement tour for the Memphis Grizzlies and just with Ja Morant? Like I mentioned that if you can unlock.
I'm not hearing that on my show. I'm taking you off the stage if you're mentioning Chris Paul.
Well, first off, it's not your show, so you just keep your hands to yourself. But I do think that that's something that could be talked about. I mean, we're talking about unlocking Ja. SGA credits Chris Paul with a lot of that. So I'm just saying that point, not to rehash that argument, but to say that's who Chris Paul is to the reigning MVP. And this is what he is now is pretty shocking to me.
It is. And again, like he's sharp and soft, all that kind of stuff, but his leadership and investment in young players has always been something touted as a positive for Chris Paul. And you've seen that like you said, he's done that for SGA.
President of the NBA Players Association.
He did it for briefly in San Antonio with Wemby and Stephon Castle and that little team before De'Aaron Fox came over. And so you've seen it across the board. It's interesting. He's not going to be without a job for long. Somebody needs a veteran. I see it.
Well, this is a big statement coming from Jared, who likes to disagree with me at every single turn. He's going to agree with me later, too, because we're going to talk about Hunter Yurchek.
Oh, yeah. We got that coming up. But, yeah, so Chris Paul out on the cold, unemployed for now, and looking for a job. It won't be long. He'll land somewhere pretty quickly that needs a point guard. Maybe Orlando.
This was his retirement tour.
I know.
Like, what are you going to do to get this level of adoration? You wanted to take a victory lap, and the only place you could really do that was the Clippers. Are you going to go to New Orleans and take it from there?
No. I can see him landing in Orlando, who really, really, really needs a point guard badly. as bad as Tyus Jones has been. But
Yeah.
maybe he'll complete the rainbow and add the magic to it. But that's plenty of NBA talk because lots and lots of college football is happening. It's the early national signing day, coaching changes, and Hunter Yurachek being a bumbling idiot once again.
So we told you yesterday the biggest thing in college football was going to be the unveiling of the penultimate college football playoff rankings. College football playoff rankings that come out before championship week, in which most of these teams aren't even playing. So you don't envision a lot of movement, and so this is something that you can really look at and project forward from this point forward. So that came out last night. We've got some Donald Trump being paged by Diego Pavia news that just broke. As well as Vanderbilt threatening legal action. So we're going to get into all of it now. Rusty, where do you want to start?
Well, let's start real briefly. It is National Signing Day, and yes, the transfer portal is a massive part of college football, but you still need to bring in recruits. Penn State, I'm looking at you, 136 ranked recruiting class, and and two of the people they had committed have already flipped elsewhere, Virginia Tech and West Virginia today. But a little bit closer to home, the Mississippi State Bulldogs have flipped two. We came into the day around the 55th ranked class. We have flipped a 5-star, number 2 safety in the entire country. In Braylon Womack, flipped from he was committed to State, flipped to Auburn, flipped back to State today, and signed 5-star, number 2 ESPN safety in the country, as well as Micah Nickerson, he's a top 20 pass rusher, was originally committed to Mississippi State, flipped to Missouri, only to flip back and sign today, a 4-star from Mississippi. So keeping 2 guys close to home. Both of them are native Mississippians. And it has vaulted Mississippi State from the 55th ranked to the 25th ranked high school recruiting class today, Drew. Great start for Jeff Levy and the crew, even though Coleman Huxler is still employed as of right now, which just boggles my mind. But Mississippi State has had a whale of a start to a signing day.
Yeah, I was looking to see what the rankings are looking like, the team rankings are looking like. But this is early signing day for high school recruiting. And so it is the most notable signing day in high school recruiting because nobody really signs in May anymore or March anymore. And so this is the early signing day. This is the vast majority of your high school commits will sign today. And so that is a good sign for Mississippi State. It is just a death knell for Penn State. Whoever comes in here is going to have to do a portal-heavy class, as Virginia Tech has a top 30 class in college football, and Penn State is one spot above Akron.
Yeah, wedged between like Akron and Montana or something. It's like not good company. The other guy we were talking about off air earlier for Mississippi State was a wide receiver, Kenny Darby. He's a 4-star from Bossier City, Louisiana. Was committed to Mississippi State, flipped to LSU, decommitted last night from LSU, and should be signing somewhere today. That's the other one we were talking about. That's a 4-star that could be landing with Mississippi State. But
yeah, it looks like USC is the number 1 team in the recruiting. Going to have the number 1 class of high school
USC and Lincoln Riley kind of in his bag right now, catching high school recruits back where USC used to be. But can it translate onto the field? I don't know.
USC, Oregon, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Georgia are your top 5. Ohio State 6, Texas 7. Just the usual suspects here. Tennessee 8.
I'm going to give a nod to Virginia Tech as well as a top 30 recruiting class. A, B, for their dessert choice at the Hokie signing day ceremony today, being packages and boxes of crumbled cookies. Shout out to BYU. My new favorite follow. BYU Twitter is awesome. It's awesome.
It is my favorite part about college football, and I did not expect Wayno to ever buy in, but he's right. If you just bill college football as Days of Our Lives and you did a year-round soap opera just recapping the college football weirdness that happens, with Penn State's former head coach buying cookies from the owner who kept Penn State from hiring that owner's coach. I mean, weird, wild stuff.
It's like the scene in Always Sunny in Philadelphia where he's connecting all the dots on the board that everybody's seen as a meme. That's exactly what following college football, especially on social media, is like. But Drew, the weirdness only continues today with Vanderbilt taking legal action against college football, the NCAA, as well as petitioning from Diego Pavia on X for Donald Trump to intercede with an executive order and making him expand the college football playoff to 16 immediately, as if this day couldn't get any wilder.
Yeah. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I'm sorry, Rusty. I should quit hitting buttons.
You should quit messing.
Here is. I've got it pulled up here if you want to, but yes, Diego Pavia has asked Donald Trump to sign an executive order to totally upheave the college football playoff because Vanderbilt last night was ranked number 14 in the poll, basically giving them no shot at all into the playoffs, and he wants Donald Trump to make it 16 using an executive order. I think this is funny. Braden Fihoko, Jared just sent me this. This is Donald Trump's going to see Diego Pavia's first name, and he is going to sign an executive order, but he will deport you.
I saw that. Amazing. That again. That's another reason why college football is so great. What other sport are you going to get this? Trump's going to see your first name and sign an executive order. All right, that's friggin' amazing. Amazing.
And I, just to take this large scale a little bit, just to widen the scope a little bit, I feel for Vandy. I said to start this season that this year is a race to 10 wins. 10 win teams will make the playoffs. I was dead wrong about that. If Ole Miss was 10-2 right now, regardless if Lane Kiffin was the coach, they would not make this field of 12. Vanderbilt does not really have a case. As much as I love Vanderbilt and would love them to be in this playoff, I think Diego Pavia will and should win the Heisman Trophy. They don't really have a case, just based on metrics. And that sucks, but to transition into the next topic, the justification should outrage Vanderbilt. What Hunter Yurachek said on the ESPN broadcast last night, talking about Vanderbilt and about top 25 wins, is just a slap in the face to Vanderbilt. And if I were a Vandy fan and an administrator, I would also take legal measures.
Absolutely. I mean, based on the justification we continue to get, like even just in the buffoonery last night, talking about Alabama, Notre Dame, Hunter Yurachek going to say that Alabama was up 17-0 and ran the ball well against Auburn. Like, buddy, nobody cares about rushing yards in these situations. Like, we're not talking about it'd be one thing if he'd mentioned it once, but this is about the fourth or fifth week where he has mentioned a team's ability to run the ball as a reason that they are up high enough in the ranking to make the college football playoff, and it's asinine. Like, he used that as a way to justify Notre Dame over Miami, as if we don't have an on-field result between those two teams. And so I don't have a ton of beef with how it played out, as I put up the bracket now on the screen. I don't have a ton of beef with how it played out. Notre Dame is in a prime position to get left out should BYU upset Texas Tech. I feel like that's the team that'll get left out in the cold, and Texas Tech would fall. I think you probably see Oregon maybe move up into the top 4. BYU would come crashing in. I don't know that Tech would fall any further than 6th or 7th. But Notre Dame is in a position, and shout out to the committee for this at least, has put Notre Dame in a place that they can get left out should chaos happen on Saturday, and it very easily could.
Yeah, so the big beef here that I have is, yes, you can say that it's a compliment to the committee, and I don't really have a lot of beefs with this. I'm not talked about Ole Miss yet. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I think the committee did a pretty fair job here. The only critique I would have is you put Notre Dame at risk. They dropped them from 9 to 10, which means they are the team on the bubble. If there's any chaos at all, you will see Notre Dame fall out, be the first team to fall out if BYU wins. You know, that you will see Notre Dame fall out. And they set that up on purpose, I believe, because they don't want to have the Miami conversation. They don't want to compare Notre Dame and Miami because they don't want to put Miami in. But what this did is leave arguably an easier path for Miami to get in than Notre Dame to stay in. And so that's my opinion of it, because this is college football and Notre Dame needs this to go chalk to stay in.
Yep.
This never goes chalk. This is college football. It's not going to go chalk, which leaves, in my opinion, the door slightly more ajar for Miami to get in, because Miami needs Duke to beat Virginia, and that's only a 2.5 point spread on a neutral site. So
yeah, I mean that could easily.
And
happen.
so my beef would be, if you're setting this up this way, just go ahead and flip them. We all saw it. You always said that there wasn't enough. They weren't close enough in the rankings to swap the two and award the spot in the rankings to the team that won the head-to-head. And so just go ahead. You're setting it up. You're obviously setting it up by dropping Notre Dame. So just go ahead and put Miami as the 10 seed here. You're not putting yourself on the line. You're not putting your head on a guillotine here by saying Miami should be ranked higher than Notre Dame. We watched them play football against each other.
You probably even earn a little credibility back because you have a head-to-head and you finally value the head-to-head over your little made-up rules and loopholes. Jared asked, if Bama loses and BYU wins, does Miami get in? I don't really think there's a way that Alabama drops out. They're at 9. If they get boat raced by Georgia, maybe. But until proven otherwise, Georgia has an Alabama problem, and I'm not so sure Georgia's going to boat race or even beat Alabama on Saturday. They could.
Yeah, I don't think that's Miami's path.
It's not, because
I think Miami's path is strictly in the ACC championship game.
I just don't see a world where the runner-up in the SEC this year is left out in the cold.
No, because everybody talks about SEC bias, and that's real. And it's TV money. ESPN owns the rights to the SEC. Like this whole thing is convoluted and unfair, and that's part of the reason why Vanderbilt's claim that they're being screwed here as a member of the SEC kind of falls on deaf ears. But that's not the path to me for Miami, because the SEC championship game has to be valued by the committee, because the last thing the committee and the networks want is teams purposefully avoiding a trip to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. So no, Alabama with a loss, even a blowout to Georgia in the SEC championship game, will not fall out of this. I truly believe that. And I think that Alabama beating Georgia would get Alabama a bye as a 2-loss team.
Agreed. I don't like, Oregon might jump up there and get one of those top 5, but if Alabama goes and beats Georgia, the SEC champ is going to get a first-round bye. I would almost blood bank guarantee that.
If you told me what's Miami's best path, they probably need Texas Tech to win. You don't want BYU involved in this, because that does turn the Big 12 into a 2-bid league. I think both of them would get in. Probably neither of them would get buys at that point.
Right.
Especially if Alabama wins the SEC championship game. You need Texas Tech to hold serve and beat BYU, knock them out of it altogether. And then you want to put yourself heads up against Notre Dame and dare the committee to pick the team that lost this matchup earlier in this season, because if you're not going to put any onus at all on head-to-head, then there's no point in playing football games.
And we're already seeing conferences, including the SEC, Alabama reworking their schedule to where it's going to be with these 9-game SEC schedules. It's going to be cupcakes and conference games. And that's what, if that happens, if it's head-to-head and they pick Notre Dame because Jeremiah Love had more rushing yards or CJ Carr, didn't spat his ankles when Carson Beck does, whatever, then you're gone are the days, or they're going to be any kind of non-conference competitive game on opening weekend or any weekend for that matter.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. You're going to have to prize head-to-head results more than anything. I think that the SEC will continue to have one non-conference Power 5 game, but the top teams are not going to be looking to play top teams from other conferences. Ole Miss is, Alabama. Who did they just sign up to play? Was it Wake Forest or Boston College?
No, Maryland.
Was it Maryland? Okay. The point still stands. And Ohio State's not going to be looking to play Alabama. They're going to be looking to play Kentucky or one of those other Virginia. That's the schools that the top teams will check. They will try to find a lesser team in an opposing Power 5 conference. I think the committee got this 100% correct, and I think Hunter Yurachek laid out a very common sense point. It's the only thing he said, in my opinion. I'm an Ole Miss fan. You can tell me I'm a homer. I think I'm correct here. But Hunter Yurachek's explanation, Ole Miss actually moved up in these rankings. They moved up past Texas A&M, who took a loss, and I think Ole Miss's resume is better than Texas A&M's. And so what he did there is he said, there is no data point. We cannot project, and we should not project. I'm paraphrasing. Ole Miss is 11-1, and their only loss is a one-possession loss at Georgia. I don't understand how we can drop them. And it goes to further prove my point and everybody else's point who thought that this was a coordinated attack by CAA on the Ole Miss administration with the sole purpose being to have Lane Kiffin coach the playoffs. That's what the Chris Lowe leaks about the potential changes in the playoff rankings. All this doomsday scenario about this was part of the coordinated attack just to get Lane Kiffin to coach the playoffs, which was never going to happen.
I'm going to call you a homer a bit because
you can call me a homer as long as you also tell me I'm true.
You're halfway true, but like the better resume, I don't buy simply because Texas A&M, again, I understand they only play the bottom half of the SEC, but their strength of schedule is 13th in the country. You have to scroll all the way down for Ole Miss to 40th in the country. So A&M's resume by strength of schedule is better than Ole Miss's if we look at that
and
metric.
If you look at that metric, and that's part of my beef with the committee is that they cherry pick what metrics they're going to use. But they've talked ad nauseum about this game control metric, which Ole Miss is really good in. And A&M's biggest win is Notre Dame, a 2-loss at home, and Ole Miss's biggest win is a road win at Oklahoma, who's number 8 in the country right now. So
unfortunately, I can do this all day because game control, I'm looking at ESPN's College Football Power Index based on resumes. Game control, A&M is 8th, Ole Miss is 10th.
Okay, so that's marginal.
The only one that I could, like the strength of resume, A&M is 3rd, Ole Miss is 7th. The FPI, A&M is 10th, Ole Miss is 12th.
So it's extremely. They're in the same ballpark on all this, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. They're in the same neighborhood.
2 or 3 spots apart.
Yeah,
and so
A&M's
I don't know
better in all of them, but they're in the same neighborhood in all of them.
I will say Adam Rittenberg, who is he's kind of like who's the college basketball guy who just nails the March Madness bracket every year.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember his name, but he basically nails the college basketball bracket, March Madness bracket every year. Adam Rittenberg nails the college football bracket every single week for the college football playoff committee. He had Ole Miss jumping Texas A&M, and so I don't think this was a shock by people who actually grade out the committee's performance every week.
I think what it is David Pollack is exactly right about this. He tweeted out this morning, remember, the college football playoff committee is not trying to get the 12 best teams every year. They're trying to justify the 12 teams that they can put in. I don't say I agree with it or like it, but it's pretty consistent every year.
Well,
meaning they're not trying to pick the 12 best. They're trying to pick the 12 teams that they want to put in, and then they backdoor the math to make it work. We said that every single week on this show.
Yeah, I do agree, but that's not a conversation for the number 6 team and the number 7 team. That's a conversation for the number 10 team and the number 14 team. They're trying to shoehorn people in. The seeding, the ranking and the seeding, I don't know about.
I would disagree because it also plays into who gets home field and who doesn't. And I think that
both of these teams are getting home field though. And so I don't really know what
home field,
what differentiated.
And then I would like the upper seeds.
If I trusted Hunter Yurachek in the slightest bit to be able to articulate a coherent thought, I would like to know
I
what
don't.
the committee saw as Ole Miss's pros over Texas A&M's. I'd genuinely like to know because we are all just – it's all just conjecture because we don't know. We have to argue because nobody imagine the talking abilities that anybody else in that committee has if they're throwing out Hunter Yurachek to orate their points here. Like, because it's bad.
You're scraping the bottom of the barrel if you're sending out Hunter Yurachek either to go put together a coherent sentence or you're just throwing him out as a sacrificial lamb to go out there and make all the heat be on him and kind of like deflect a little bit.
We'll pay you a little bit more to be the whipping boy so that we can do what we want and you take the arrows.
We can enjoy our scotch while you take the heat in the back room watching you on TV.
Hey, buddy, he's taking some heat.
Yeah, because like from a lot of folks and it's just he continues like if he had just not even responded and just said, yeah, we liked Alabama a little better. That would have been better than trying to justify being up 17-0 in a game that ultimately ended up tied and being won in the final couple of minutes over rushing yards and what he said. But on FanDuel.com right now, there are some odds to make the playoffs for some of the fringe teams. Right now, as it sits, Notre Dame is minus 480 to be in the top 12 to play for a college football championship in the playoffs. But as we said, they are in a prime position to be left out should Armageddon happen on Saturday. And based on this year, Drew, that could very easily happen. James Madison, real quick, I run through these. James Madison plus 152, just on the outside looking in. BYU's plus 410. So they might need a little help, even if they upset Texas Tech.
That's because they're a pretty big underdog in the Texas Tech game. There's not a path without beating them.
Right. Yeah. Miami plus 490, and Duke, who could win the ACC, is plus 1,800 to make the field of 12.
There's no chance that Duke is going to get in unless there is some G5 conference championship upsets. Like Tulane in North Texas, it doesn't matter who's going to win that. They're getting in. James Madison will get in if Duke wins because there's no way that Duke is going to jump James Madison in the rankings. So I talked about, and I guess this was an uninformed opinion on my part yesterday, that when I said that there's no way that James Madison gets in, or it's going to be hard that they would put in a second G5 team as an at-large. It's not even an at-large thing because they have to take the top 5 conference champions. And if Duke wins, there's no way that Duke will jump in the rankings a James Madison conference champion. And you can tell that on the odds because they're plus 152.
Yeah, and James Madison is a massive favorite in the Sun Belt Championship game over Troy, I believe is who they're playing. They're a massive favorite in that game.
Yeah.
So Jared brings up this good point. Yes, this is probably partly that plays into that. Tech did beat BYU 29-7. BYU was uncharacteristic. They're number 7 in the country in turnover margin, and they had 3 turnovers against Tech in that game. So the fact that it was only 29-7 makes me think that if BYU can take care of the ball with some added momentum with Sataki coming back, this could be a close game.
And the only problem with that, because number 4 in the country in turnovers forced is Texas Tech. So it kind of washes out. It's kind of hard to win the turnover battle if you're also going against another team that forces more turnovers than you do.
He's really good at forcing turnovers. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens this conference championship Saturday. But, like, one thing I think we can kind of bank on from this season is utter chaos because that's what we've gotten so far. The upsets galore, teams that are failing. Like I'm really excited. Let me pull up the conference championship lines really quick.
While you do that, while you pull that up, I'll say the task just keeps getting harder for Penn State because Brent Key has now signed a 5-year contract extension with Georgia Tech. And yesterday, I'm blanking on his name.
Brian Hartline?
Brian Hartline signed a contract with USF. So that Penn State job just continues to get harder and harder to fill.
And even Kansas State is going to get a new coach because it's looking like Chris Kleiman is going to retire. He's going to step down, and they're going to promote Colin Klein, former quarterback from within, to be the head coach in Manhattan, Kansas.
Well, he is not promoting. He's coming from Texas A&M as the OC.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He's going to get
but he's coming home where he was a Heisman finalist.
That's what it was. He was a Heisman finalist and quarterback at Kansas State coming home there. It does beg the question. I've got the odds pulled up here. But it does beg the question. We talked about this briefly off air. I think this is 90% Penn State's fault because of how they bumbled the James Franklin firing after being inches away from a national championship, 4 straight 9-win seasons, top 20 recruiting classes left and right. I think it's 5% Crumble Cookie's fault because they ponied up and paid Sataki to stay out in Provo. I also think there is some credence to what Todd McShay said on his podcast this week, where Jimmy Sexton is essentially boxing out Penn State as a get back. And again, I'm not saying like at 5% at the most, but McShay basically said that Jimmy Sexton has gone to war with Pat Kraft because of James Franklin being fired while being so successful. So basically, Sexton is making it impossible for Penn State to hire somebody under his umbrella.
And I'm not going to – 5% is probably a good number on that, because ultimately we got to forget – we sometimes forget what Jimmy Sexton is. We make him the boogeyman. And he is the most powerful man in football. There's no doubt about that. He is the biggest power agent. He is Jerry Maguire in this situation. And he can make life difficult for Penn State if he chooses to. But what we sometimes forget is what Jimmy Sexton's job is, and that is to promote his clients to the highest paycheck, highest job, highest anything they can get. That's the reason why there was the coordinated attack on Ole Miss on Saturday's College Game Day, is because he was promoting
talents.
He was promoting Lane Kiffin's right, in his opinion, to coach Ole Miss in the college football playoff, despite being the head coach at LSU. And I have a hard time thinking that Jimmy Sexton, having all of these clients, will blacklist a Power 5 really good college football job and say, my guys that's over here that's an assistant or a lower-level head coach, he's not taking your amazing job because I'm mad at you. That's a disservice to his clients.
I also think that that's a fair argument, but I think there's some of that of a I'll show you, because Jimmy Sexton is the most powerful man in college football. You said it. And if you notice, every single person that has been calling out Penn State, called out Lane Kiffin, are all CAA guys. Every single one of them.
Well, and just public at large who have a brain is calling out Penn State. But and to counter my point and to probably suggest you the reason why it could go both ways is that he may believe that it is not in the best interest of his client to work for that athletic director. So, maybe. But I just have a hard time thinking that if a client came up to him and it said, I would like to take the Penn State job and make $8 to $10 million a year, he would be like, no, you need to stay as the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. That doesn't really – that's not promoting your client either. So.
Yeah, especially if you look at it, like he gets 3% of the buyouts. So Penn State's paying him $1.5 million for James Franklin to not coach. So, I mean, he's getting paid pretty well by Penn State and not letting them hire his clients. That's diabolical work.
It's win-win. He's going to get 3% of a paycheck, or he's going to get 3% of a buyout. I mean,
that's it. I mean, either way. He's going to, like with Brian Kelly, it's like 1.6
makes
million.
Me think I got in the wrong line of work.
Buddy, like he's right down the road. Maybe I'll go talk to him. I'm not an attorney, but hey, buddy, I just want to make a lot of money and I watch college football. Can I work for you?
Yeah, I mean, let me just be your errand boy. You give me 5% of your 5%, and we'll shake hands right now.
Happily, buddy. I'll smile going to Starbucks.
What's 5% of 1.5 mil? I'll do the math real quick. 150,000 times
$75,000.
You get. I rest my case.
I'll smile on my way to Starbucks.
I'll get you some coffee.
Every day.
What do you want? You want me to hold your phone and hand it to you when it rings? Absolutely.
I got you. Well, right now, over on FanDuel, as we wrap up this episode, I know you got to get out of here. The college football championship Saturday is coming up this Saturday, and in games of matter, James Madison opens
the other president
opens as a 23.5-point favorite over Troy. North Texas is a 2.5-point favorite over Tulane.
Be a good football game. I'm assuming Mestamaker and the coach that are both going to Oklahoma State are both playing for North Texas.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, UNLV Boise State's 3.5-point line. Boise State's a favorite. There it is. Texas Tech is now a 12.5 point. That line was 8.5. It is 12.5 points in favor of Texas Tech. And that plays a big part of it for sure.
Yeah.
Georgia opens.
It was an ugly 29-7 too. They more or less humiliated BYU in that game.
Georgia opens as a 2.5-point favorite in the SEC championship game. Virginia sits as a 3.5-point favorite in the ACC championship game. Ohio State is a 4.5-point favorite over Indiana. And in the game that we all watch, even if you don't have any ties to it, the best game of the year for pageantry, Navy opens as a 4.5-point favorite over Army on Saturday.
I thought that was after conference championship games. I thought that was okay.
After the regular season on conference championship day.
Listen, I hope I'm rooting hard for Georgia, even though they're 1-7 against Alabama since Kirby Smart took over.
Mm-hmm.
I am rooting hard for chalk, and I want Virginia. I'm probably pulling the hardest for Virginia. Because if Virginia wins, that pretty much locks in them as the 11 seed. And if Ole Miss can stay at the 6, they would match up with the 11. And per Josh Pate, per FanDuel Sport, he did the research. I'll give him credit. He tweeted it out last night. Ole Miss would be roughly a 13.5-point favorite at home against Virginia. So, yes, sign me up for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
It is the next week, says Jared Davidson.
Yeah, I guess it is. Oh, never mind. That's something else. But yeah, that's going to do it for our Wednesday edition of the 2 Buck Sports Show. Lots of college football happenings. Lots of it is December 13th. It's on FanDuel. It's just listed as next Saturday.
It's probably the only other game out there.
Yeah.
So
because it just says 7:01 Central. It doesn't have a date on it that I saw, and I've already closed out of the window. So it's December 13th. That's coming up. The game that everybody watches, even if you don't have affiliation. Well, that's going to do it for your Wednesday edition of the 2 Buck Sports Show. I am your co-host, Rusty Buckets. We are live here every Monday through Friday. Most Monday through Fridays, we're live at 11 a.m. Central. That does happen. Come hang out with us. If you're on X, hop in the comments on YouTube. Hang out with the cool kids. It was Jared and King Meeks today. We appreciate y'all being here. As always, we'll be back tomorrow for our Thursday edition as we start getting you prepped for the weekend. Ain't no telling what other buffoonery we're going to get into, but come hang out with us at 11 a.m. tomorrow. In the meantime, go be a friend to somebody who needs a friend. And Drew, tell them why there are no refunds.
That's right, because with the $2, you always get what you pay for. Hope everybody has a good hump day. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the 2 Buck Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.